So we're recording now, and also I'm turning on the Q&A. So you can ask a question in the general chat within Meet, or you can ask it in the Q&A. The advantage of using the Q&A is if you ask a question someone else wants to ask, it can get voted up so we can deal with them in terms of the priority that the listeners decide is the case. So you can use either, that's fine. And we will offer people the option to unmute and ask questions at the end as well, should you need to. So don't worry about that. So Q&A is turned on, Meet is there, welcome. I'm going to create 2 seconds of silence now, then do an introduction to Sammy and hand over straight to Sammy, if that's okay. And thanks very much for coming. I've said that probably several times. So we're going to put 2 seconds of silence now. Welcome to Virtual Staff Room. Thanks very much for coming along. It's lovely to see so many people here. I'm sure that you're not here to listen to me and that you're here to listen to my marvelous colleague Sammy, who's going to talk about Mathwhiteboard this lunchtime. So without further ado, thanks very much for coming along. Thanks for presenting, Sammy, and over to you.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone, and recognise lots of names. It's lovely to see you all here. We're going to get straight in, and I'm going to get you to have a play with it. So in the chat is the link to a blank Mathwhiteboard, and I'd love it if you could just pop on there, see if you can figure out how to add in where you are joining us from today. Where are you joining us from today? Pick a frame, join a frame with someone else. Mathwhiteboard works on touchscreen devices. So if you are working on it, you can click on Mathwrite and you can use your finger just to draw. So I'm just joining now on a touchscreen device. There we go. We can see people coming on there. And it's a really intuitive way to join. If you are looking for typing, it's just next to it on the top on here is Math Type. So just Math Type at the top here. And you are able to type in as well. If you want to say where you're joining us from today, grab a frame, any frame, and just say, where are you joining us from today? I'll just post the link in again for those just joining us. And we're all on this together at the same time. It's web-based. It's one simple link. So already it's winning for me in terms of tools. From sunny Staffordshire. Is that what it says? I can't make it out. Bradford-on-Avon, lovely. What have we got here? Burnley. Oh, we've got all sorts going on now. I'm going to go on number 9. You can also put the type in. Oh, there we go. We've got loads. There we go. We've got loads coming on now. So it's a really intuitive, easy to use. And just by the simple fact from the very beginning, we've been able to all get on together via the link. And we're all able to join in and we're all able to start having a play straight away. It is a really simple platform for students to get their heads around. Hi. It's trying to pick up your writing. It's trying to guess what you're saying. Hi, Sammy. It's got his Amy, which I think is wonderful. Leeds City College, I'm guessing that's going to be. A lot of joined up writing. I don't do joined up writing, but there we go. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. So we'll start off then with, I'm on another blank one here. I'm going to show you the best of Mathwhiteboard to start with. This is probably its most impressive feature. I've already pre-built it for time. So basically in this example, it's not something I would teach at GCSE Maths, and it's not necessarily something that we would really cover in core maths in great detail. So it's really sort of A-level maths for us, but you might be working on a project where this is relevant, but it is its most cool feature. So we've input on here the speed of 2 vehicles as the formula of the 2 vehicles. And then we've drawn on 2 basic vehicles. We've got a graph so we can compare which vehicle goes fast, but you know what? My brain just might need to see it in a different way. So the best thing that Mathwhiteboard can do is when you hit play, you can see the speed of the 2 vehicles and you can judge which one is faster. And then you can explore why that vehicle would be faster. So it's great for opening up discussions and just thinking about the why of maths a little bit more. You've still got all the maths features in that you've got a number line, you've got a graph, You've got the speed of vehicles. It's a really visual way to display things. It is its most cool feature. Whenever they do demos of it, it's the thing that they say till the end. So I thought I'd change it up and I'd go from the very beginning with it. So it's very, very cool. And you just draw that in Mathwhiteboard. I'm not going to draw it today because my drawing's not that great. So on Mathwhiteboard then, I've just got a blank here and I'm on a touch screen device, and we'll see how it goes. It's always the pressure when you're trying to do touch typing when you're on here. But if I write a half like that, oh, it's picked it up as a Z. Let's clear it off. That's my fault for a 2 not being right. There we go. It's picked it up as a half. So it's a really simple way to recognize your finger writing and turn it into text. Once you've got that text, you can type it and then you can get rid of your finger written math and it will turn it into text for you. So it's a really great feature. You can also do things like this. I'll just keep admitting colleagues in. There are going to be quite a few colleagues coming in, so if any of the C Learning team can just keep admitting people in, that'd be great. If we write then 3 plus 2 on here, it picks it up as 3 plus 2. Great. If I then put a little arrow at the end of it, it tells me that that equals 5. So it now tells me that 3 plus 2 equals 5. If I pick up the erase tool, take out that 2, and it's saying 3 plus what equals 1. It wants me to fill it in. And if I go back in and I put in a 3 this time, oh, that was a bit rough. Let's undo that. Can't pick up my writing. There we go. 3 plus 3 this time. It tells me that it's 6. And if I can erase again, and if I go back into writing and I put in a 4, it might not pick it up. Oh, there we go. 3 plus 4, and it tells me that it's 7. So it's a really great platform because it takes the pressure of working things out. Sometimes you might be working something out, you might just want to check your answer, but also you might want to see the connection between variables. You might want to see what happens if we change that. Does the number get bigger, smaller? Really, really great tool for that. Its most wonderful feature though is if with my finger, there we go, Steve. If just with my finger, if I draw a straight line across like that, it gives me a number line. So I'll just show you that again. With my finger, a straight line across, it gives me a number line. And sometimes one of the most simplest things that we need as a maths teacher is a number line, because we need to be able to see those negative numbers and we need to be able to show, right, okay, I'm going to go into draw now. What is negative 2 plus 3? Well, if I'm at negative 2, I can then draw in that I'm going to go jump 1, 2, 3, and it's going to bring me out at here. So it's a really great tool. It's a really great tool for quickly showing you the visual representation on a number line. So the number line, again, is just a straight line across, and it'll draw that number line for you. If you want to change that number line, you want to make it to different values, you just click on that little arrow and then you can click on values and it will allow you to change that as well. So straight line and then that little arrow there, and then you can change the values. So it's a really great tool for that. The next thing that I'm going to do, this could go horribly wrong, but we'll see. I'm going to try and write then y equals 2x as a formula. Oh, I knew it wouldn't get it. The pressure of having to do this live. Let's see if it can get it now. Yay, y equals 2x. All right, so y equals 2x. I've written it. Perhaps I want to draw it as a graph. I want to explore it. I want to have a look at another graph with it. I could spend ages printing out axes, getting my students to plot coordinates and draw it. But by the time they've done that, the time that they've spent doing that takes away from actually playing with the graph and the variables. So with a little swoosh underneath the graph like that, under the equation, it draws the graph like that. So I'll just show you that again. So y equals 2x, little swoosh, and there's the graph. We can zoom in on the graph. We can play about with the graph. You can make the axes bigger, smaller. So it's really useful for seeing how it's just a line segment when we curtail it with the points. Apologies if you're not a GCSE maths teacher, but those that are, you'll know what I mean. We want to know that lines go on forever, and it's a really hard thing to show students visually. So really simply, just a swoosh, and it just does that straight away for you. I've got a series of videos that I've done on YouTube where I just go swoosh a lot. So I just go swoosh, and it does that. It also gives you the label at the bottom. You can just see it's dropping off there, but you can get the label of the graph as well. Really important, again, to stress to students about labeling of the graph when we draw the lines. But what about that table of values? That plotting of coordinates, that key skill that we need to practice all the time? Well, you just hit table, and those are the table of values. So you can see how the coordinates link up and how that line is generated by using the tables of values like that. So it covers everything that you would cover in the topic. If I just clear that one off, I'm going to type this one in just because I'm not confident that my maths would work, but let's have a go. So if we type in on here, y equals 3x minus 1. Oh, it didn't give me an equals. Let's try that again. Y equals 3x minus 1. Flick it back to the Mathwrite tool so it's happy. It's got that expression written in there. If I do the swoosh underneath, oh, it won't let me do it. There we go. Mathwrite. Oh, it's not doing it. There we go. I'm being too clever for my own good with it. Normally, you can just swoosh it and it will draw it as well. There is a series of videos on my YouTube channel where I go through each of these features. So, graphs can be drawn really simply. I've shown you how it'll solve expressions, but also if you start to put it into algebra and you write 3a plus 6. Oh, sorry, I've got screen delay going on now. That's not useful, is it? Here we go. 3a plus 6 equals, let's make it really easy and say 24. It copies it and it says 3a plus 6 equals 24. If I just take the erase tool and you just scribble that bit out, and I'll scribble that bit out. If I now put the arrow like that, it will factorize into brackets for me. So sometimes when we're trying to build those connections between factorized and expanded expressions, it will do that automatically. So if you've got students that are unsure that they've factorized correctly or that they've expanded correctly, by drawing a little arrow, it will give them that answer and it'll let them check that they've got it right, so they can explore the relationship between, what's the relationship between 3a plus 6 and what's the relationship between 3 bracket a plus 2. If I write that a equals 3 on here, you can see it's now telling me that 3a plus 6 would be 15 when a equals 3. You don't need to go to the erase tool as well. My favourite feature of it is the scribbler. You just scribble over something and it just disappears. If I say that a is 9 now, it's going to work out that 3a plus 6 would be 33 when a equals 9. And you can just scribble out and it'll start to put it on a number line. And you can drag a about and you can see what happens when I change a's value. Oh, that changes what the expression equals to changes. Oh, it's going down because I'm moving it. So you can explore the relationships between variables and numbers, all in Mathwhiteboard. Okay, I'm going to show you another feature now, which I have got ready on here. So Mathwhiteboard, oh, let me undo that. So Mathwhiteboard also has what's called a highlight equivalence tool. And you get to that under the More button here. It is in beta at the moment, but it is going to be a confirmed feature we're led to believe at the moment. And it's called highlight equivalence. And the reason I like highlight equivalence is because when it's turned on, you can see that a half is yellow, 3/6 is yellow because they're equivalent, 4/8 is yellow because they're equivalent, but 6/9 is not equivalent, so it's given it a different colour. 3/4 is not equivalent, so it's given it a different colour. So you can build those relationships with students about equivalent fractions, simplifying fractions, finding highest common factors of numbers. Have you found the highest common factor or have you just found a factor? Can it go smaller? Is it equivalent? All sorts of conversations you can have with your students about this in a really visual way. If I then just put another frame onto here, and it's just got a sidebar the same as everything else that we're using at the moment. Most products have the same, a little sidebar and a little plus. If I type in here, I'll just check highlight equivalence is still on. Yeah, it's still on. If I type in here then, I don't know, 2a plus 5. Oh, I've got a really bad delay. Hang on. 2a plus 5 equals 11. And imagine I'm trying to work out this problem now. So I'm going to do the next step. So the first step would be to subtract 5 from each side. So I would be left with 2a equals 16. Well, we know I've done that wrong, because if I'm subtracting 5 from 11, I should be left with 6. What have I done wrong? Well, I've plus 5. So it's telling me I've done it wrong because it's not coloured it the same. So if I write 2a equals 6, it's now changed that colour there to yellow. So it's telling me that this answer is on the right track. This answer is not on the right track. So when we're teaching students about solving equations, making sure that they've got the variables in the right order, making sure that they can manipulate them correctly, we can show them with highlight equivalence where they're going wrong. What stage of that calculation did they make a mistake? What mistake did they make? And how can they go back and change it? In terms of reflection, you get a text box option up here. And you can just write on here, we'll come back to that. And you can just write on here, I think this is wrong. I think you added instead of subtracting. And you can leave that note there so that the students can see what you think they've done wrong in that mistake. I appreciate it's not the prettiest part of the feature, the text box part. I appreciate that. There's not many options you can do under that. You can do some traditional paragraph formatting that you would expect. There are a few options available to you, and you can do bullet points and you can guide them to things as well. It's not the prettiest, but it does the job. It does the job for the students. Yeah, it is useful to give them feedback. Just, if you can see what the mistake is that they've made, you can help them along. Remember, this is fully collaborative because we started at the very beginning, all sharing the same link. So we could all be on here together. Each of us could have a frame that we're working on. So I could say, Paul, your work's on frame 1, Ian, your work's on frame 2, Jamie, your work's on frame 3. And then me as the teacher, I can be going in and I can be leaving text notes live for the students, synchronously when you're working, or asynchronously if they're working in their own time. And I can leave them notes and say, this was really good, but I think we could probably do this here. Or have you checked out this website? This might help give you a bit more information. So all those teacher conversations that we would be having, you can still have under the text box there as well. Under the insert option then, you just get a few different options on here, not the greatest, but you've got text box again, you've got math again. You can just go straight into graph. So if you don't want to do the equations to draw the graph, you can just draw the graph. You can just get the axes from there. And once you've got the axes from there, you can click on draw and the students can start to draw lines on top of there. So no more students having to spend hours and hours and hours of drawing axes, plotting coordinates, all those sorts of things. You can just pick up on the insert menu. I'm just going to clear this board off. Pick up on the insert menu a graph, get the axes, put it onto draw, get them to pick a colour, say, right, I want you to draw the graph of y equals x. I've got such a delay, I'm so sorry on the screen. And what we can do then is we can get them to start plotting coordinates just on the draw tool. It's not using any intuitive features and they can just draw on there. As the teacher, I can come on and I can leave a text note and I can say, this was a great start. And then I can link to a website to give you more information or to give you next steps or to give you the next task. So it doesn't have to be used as the intuitive platform. It can just be used as a generic collaborative whiteboard as well. So let me just clear the board off. I'm going to be brave again. Highlight equivalence is still on. Okay, let's see if we can check that this still works then. Okay, so if I write in 3x minus 9 equals, let's say, -3. If I then start to think about solving this, it's now frozen. Perfect. Great. If I now start to think about solving this, I knew I was taking so long that I was pushing it far too much. Oh, there we go. It's come back. It's come back. If I then start to think about what I would do next to manipulate this, I would be plussing 9 to both sides. So if I say 3x equals, let's say 5. Let's say I don't add it upright. It's going to give me the colours to tell me that it's wrong. It's checking now. Should it go purple? No, it should stay wrong. But if I put in 3x equals 6, it should tell me that it'll go purple. Come on. And it's gone purple because it's got that highlight equivalence feature ticked in. Same if we want to put the fractions in. So if I clear the board off and I'll just go on to Mathwrite, and if I do a half, oh, the delay is going to get me. Here we go. One more try. A half, 3/6. Oh, let's take that out. Yes, a half, 3/6. 3/4. Scribble to get rid of that horrible 3. Come on. Gonna need erasing. I've got such a delay. I'm working. I feel like I'm talking and like things are happening in the past. There we go. Let's try that again. Determined. I'm determined. Let's have a go. Come on. There we go. So again, a half is equivalent to 3/6. So it's telling us by the same colour, but 3/4 is not equivalent. So it's making it go green. So it's developing that understanding. It's lightening that cognitive load because it's making it easier to see errors and mistakes. And it's pointing out where the mistake happened to allow students to go back and correct their work. Okay, so let me give you one of its greatest features, I think, whether you're maths or not. What I'm going to do is I've just got a blank math whiteboard now, so I've made it all go blank completely. There's nothing on there. There's no other frames. There's just this one frame that I'm working on there. I'm just going to pick a file up from here. So I've got a PDF of a past exam paper. It's a writing paper. It's an English paper. I've not picked a maths paper. And I'm just going to drag it from my files onto the math whiteboard. So it's going to take that PDF and it's now turned it into a fully editable whiteboard document. Each of the pages of the PDF has been separated out. And you can see it's been set as the background, so you can't grab that, you can't move that, you can't play about with it. So here's the task 3. 2 weeks ago, you told you I covered about a problem. Write 150 words in your email. Well, we've got a couple of options. I can draw 150 words with my finger, or I can type, not a problem, or I could just use a text box. And I could put a text box in and say, I emailed you. So it makes that PDF editable for the students. Yeah, you can type in those text boxes. So all it was picking up the PDF from my file, dragging it onto the math whiteboard, and then it did it all for me. It made it the background, it split it page by page. This is how I've been invigilating for teacher assessed grades at the moment for my students. I've taken the PDF that the exam board have given us for their GCSE maths. I've put it in a math whiteboard. I've then shared the link with the students, and I've sat as a helicopter sort of just watching them all work on there synchronously, and I've invigilated them remotely. Because again, it's collaborative, it's web-based, and everyone can be on there at the same time. So they can come onto here and they can either use the text box features, or they can use the drawing features, or they can try and use the math writing if they're using maths. but you can just start like that, and it just makes them a little bit more accessible. And again, because it's web-based, they don't need the latest updates on their phone, they don't need the latest apps. It is web-based. I've tried it on a really old phone. I have an old iPhone here. I've tried it on that, and it works completely fine. It's a really, really great tool. Okay. I think, oh, there's more. I think I'll stop there. Has anyone got any questions?
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Sammy. So if people have got questions, do you want to raise your hand? You should see on your screen, you've got your hand raising option. So it just means that I get to go through them one at a time rather than guessing who's next on the list. So you'll see there's a hand raising icon in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. So if you click the raise hand, that gives you the option to raise a hand. Question from me while people are thinking about their own questions, Sammy. What's your experience of different age ranges of students using this tool?
Well, I have a 5, nearly 6-year-old. He thinks it's great because he can practice his letter formation on it. And if it can't recognise his A, then he needs to practice his A again. So he really likes it. I've used it with my adult learners, and I teach adult sound level 3 for GCSE maths, and they've really enjoyed it. And one of the mums actually said, it's like a game changer for me for signing slips for school, because since lockdown, she's not been able to print at work. So she's now doing this. And because it's web-based, you can just go across here and you can just print the page. And when you print the page, you can save it as a PDF. So she's been signing permission slips for school this way, one of the mums that I teach. So she thinks it's great.
Brilliant. So stick the PDF in here, sign it, and then print it out as a PDF.
Yeah, so I was saying, can we insert audios or videos? It doesn't really do that. You can insert links into it, but it doesn't really do that. This is Mathwhiteboard. The company that make it are called Fluid Math. This is free and will always be free. But if you wanted to explore things like that, they would direct you to Fluid Math.
Excellent. Any other questions from anyone? Don't forget, you can raise your hand if you'd like to, or you can, I think we're a small enough group for people to unmute. Let's give people a chance to formulate their question. Is that a question in the chat, or just a thanks from Uzma? Okay.
Yeah, just a thanks on that one. There's tons of examples as well. So if you're not confident with it, you can just grab a demo and just play about with an existing one as well if you wanted to. Ian, hit me with your question.
Yeah, Sammy, thanks for the demonstration. The question I've got is, as a maths teacher, you've got so many different applications that you can use. So can you just try and help position where this sort of maths sort of resource might get used compared to other maths resources or Google resources or whatever else that are available? And I was thinking of the Khan Academy from many years ago, when I went through a lot of the sort of maths lessons to do it. So there's a different type of video resource. So where does this fit in?
This is the only intuitive one that is as accurate that I found. So when you're putting in that 2 + 3 and then you put the arrow on, it's that bit for me that makes it different, because it has that intuitive nature. And if I take that out and I put 4 on, this is where it develops students' understanding of the relationship between variables. All the other tools and platforms are great for displaying, proving, doing, making. Wonderful for that. It for me is when you're trying to help develop that understanding, but also from a digital divide point of view, because it's web-based, it's low resolution. It wins for me in terms of the data that it streams as well. Going into a platform or streaming a video or something like that will take up data that sometimes students just don't have. So that's why this one wins for me.
Okay, and could you then embed this one into, as we're doing now, into Google Meet and record it and then share things, so you could use it as a sort of revision tool?
You can use it as a revision. You can use it as your day-to-day whiteboard. Anything you would have put on your whiteboard, you can put on here, but it's got many more features in terms of developing the understanding. You know, sometimes you just need a number line. Well, actually, it takes so long to go find a number line. If this is your whiteboard, you've got a number line straight away to start demonstrating things. And also the graphing feature. I don't know a maths teacher that's ever enjoyed teaching graphs when it takes so long to plot coordinates. This then gets you down to the nitty gritty of practicing playing about with the variables a lot quicker.
No, that's great. Thanks, Sammy.
Excellent, Sammy. Alex asks, is there a limit to the number of frames you can create?
Alex, I've put in a GCSE paper and it's split it into 36 and it had no problem with it. I've not hit a limit yet on it, I don't think.
Excellent. Good, thank you for that. I mean, the thing, I mean, as a non-maths teacher, the thing that impresses me most is the way that it intelligently links the things. So if you've got your equation, then you tell it to make a graph, it just does it. And
yeah.
that, you know, so that is a really impressive aspect of it. Any questions from anybody else whilst we're still here? So we're just happily playing along there. Again, if you want to unmute and ask the question, you can do. You can put the question in the chat. If you want to, you can put the question in the Q&A. You can then raise your hand.
I can show more features as well. No, it is only PDF, Usman. That's what it's built to do, is to pick up PDF files. It's purposely built to pick up exam papers and make them interactive. That's what it's been built for.
Okay, excellent. So maybe you do show us a couple of other features while people think of their questions, Sam, if that's okay. Yeah,
of course I can. So if I go into the text box and I type a text box in on here, text, oh, it's on maths type, hang on, sorry, go into text box. That would make a difference, there we go. If I type in text box on here, what I can do is under edit, I showed you I've got the formatting tools and things like that. I can also put tables in as well onto there. I forgot to mention that earlier, but it's got some options. But you've got here, you've got click to reveal. So you could leave it as the answer to the problem. They could work out the answer. And then when they're ready, they can click here for the answer. If you want to edit the prompt, you can say answer here when you have finished. So you can leave your question over here. So you could say 3 + 2 = what? Get them to work it out over here, and when they've worked it out, they can then click on there and they can reveal the answer. And it goes back to hiding it like that. So you can build full lesson resources as well and hide the answers for students as well in there.
Marcus asks, is there any other options on the number line apart from decimals?
Yeah, you can change the variables on them. It'll do any numbers, Marcus, on the number line.
Can you show that?
I can, but it wasn't working for me earlier.
Sorry, Sammy.
So you can change it from discrete to continuous. It's opening up now. So you've got discrete or continuous. So I can change the variables on there. And as you drag it, it'll make it whether it gets larger or smaller. And you can frame the variables as well. It's not showing me it today, but yeah, normally under values, you get an option to frame the variables of what section of the number line you're showing as well on there.
Excellent, good. Thank you for that. Good from Marcus. So whilst people are thinking, let's do a quick poll. See what people think. Simple question then, are you likely to use this in your classroom? I'm saying that because my typing is terrible and you might not be able to read what I've written. Are you likely to use this in your classroom? There we go.
Ian, this is free. Ian, this is free and will always be free. The paid for version is a completely different product that you can't access from here. It doesn't limit your features in any way on this one.
So yeah, I apologise for my spelling, but I've just posted a poll. Triangle, circle, square, little icon. Click on that. It'll take you to where the polls are. I've had 3 votes telling me a definite yes. Classroom, whatever a classroom is. No in capitals as well. 7 people, yeah. So they've got a big load of votes for yes. Are these some ready-made resources in there already, Sammy? Are they?
Yeah, so these are the ready-made resources. So I actually got the rate of change one as a ready-made one, rather than me sitting and sketching it. But you can pick it up and then you can play with the variables in it and just customize it to what you're showing to your students. I knew it was going to start freezing. It's getting there. It's getting there. So you can just pick it up and then you can play with the variables and you can change it about a bit as well. And you can see that this slider, you can change the T value, and that'll change how fast the cars go as well. So, but in terms of teaching relationships between variables, it's really great for that. Again, under example whiteboards, most of the things that I've shown you already exist as example whiteboards. So if you're not confident with maths and you just want to get them to practice and see things, you know, if you wanted to practice looking at graphs, and they call it y equals mx plus b in America. Obviously, we call it y equals mx plus c. But you can just change that about. You can change the letter on there because I've asked them that as well. It doesn't affect it in any way, shape, or form on there. So yeah. Any other questions? Because I can show you something else as well.
So hopefully you should see the results of that poll, Sammy. A big resounding yes. You've clearly hit a nerve with people. They really like the tool.
Mike's saying, has it changed the way I do maths in the classroom or digital lessons? Do you know what, Mike? For me, because I teach fully online, it's given my students space to practice their maths and feel that they're not going to mess up or break something. One of my students, she said she likes it because she'll draw the graph out really nice and neatly with a pen with a pencil and a ruler, and then she'll swoosh it on there and just check that it's right. And so I'm finding it's giving them confidence in what they're doing. For me, I'm using it as a really simple way of when I would go to the board and be like, right, let's look at another example of this, and it's perfect for doing that for me. But it's deepening their understanding as well. With the highlight equivalence. One of my students, he can't work with negative numbers. They stress him out, and he turns it on. The first thing he does is, oh, you've sent me a whiteboard, but it's not got highlight equivalence turned on, and he'll turn it on straight away because he just knows he needs that when he's working with negative numbers. So yeah, it's definitely making it more personal for them and giving them more confidence. Thanks, Mike.
Excellent, good. We've seen the link between the equation and the chart. If you move the chart, does it work that way? You can like drag the line around, will it? Yeah,
you can play about with these. Oh, sorry, it's not going to. I've just got such a delay, but yes, it does. Trust me, it does.
Okay. yeah, Sammy, I believe you. Of course, I believe you. There was a question from me, Ian, came through just then.
How many of your students use the whiteboard on their phones rather than computers, tablets? I would say a significant number. One of the challenges I found this year is most of my students had iPhones or iPads. And most of my stuff is in Google, and they really struggled sometimes. So yeah, this is the default where we'll go to work things out, not a Jamboard anymore. We used to do it on a Jamboard, and now we do it on here.
Jamboards are great, but you haven't got the interactivity and the relationship between the things on the screen.
Imagine how long it would take you to draw that graph on a Jamboard.
Oh yeah. Well, you'd go somewhere else and draw it, then you import it, wouldn't you? That's what you do.
Yeah. Set the axes as a background. And how do you know it's me doing the work and not Paul? Well, what I do is I name the frames. So I type their name on the top of the frames for each of them. I don't necessarily know, I'm trusting, and there's no version history on it. But also sometimes I just make lots of different math whiteboards for each of them. And I know who's got the link to which math whiteboard. That's what I did when I was invigilating them. I had them all cameras on. I sent them all an individual link to an individual math whiteboard, and I just spent the 2 hours flicking between each math whiteboard, just checking that they were all working. And they just had a PDF pulled in, and they were just finger drawing all over the top of the PDF. They were even able to do pie charts in there, which is something I've not been able to replicate in Google Forms, Google Slides, or anything like that, or Jamboard. I've not been able to replicate them drawing pie charts, but they said they were able to do it in math whiteboard quite easily. They said it wasn't accurate, but they said it was much easier than any of the ways I've tried. I've tried teaching pie charts quite a few times.
Excellent, thank you. Just checking there are no more questions. Little note there. Oh, that's Ian's question. We've done that. Any other questions from anyone? Anything in the Q&A? Nothing in the Q&A.
Shall I show something else then?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
okay.
We've got you.
So that was Mathwhiteboard, which is American. If I go to Mathwhiteboard, which is obviously the correct way to say maths.
Let's not go there.
Here is Mathwhiteboard. So this isn't as intuitive. It does still have an interactive whiteboard that you can write on. Absolutely fine for that. But what this is this is a resource bank of questions, of examples. It's got a worksheet generator, scavenger hunt, word search board. Paul, could you just drop this link in the chat for me? This is mathwhiteboard.com. You can open up the last whiteboard that you did, a revision whiteboard, all sorts of different amazing things on here. It is Wheel of Reward is a new one that they've put on. I've spoken to Matt, who runs this, invented this, created this on my podcast, which is English and Maths for FE, Ian and Booth, and he was explaining that this is just driven by him in his classroom. This is just driven by things that he thinks he needs all the time and how he can get them. And it's an amazing, amazing bank of resources that you've got. So let's imagine that I'm looking for something on algebra, and then I'm just going to type in something on expressions, and let's see what it's giving me. It's filtering my instructions down here. So if we go to expand over a single bracket, I've got the option to model it. I've got the option to open up mini whiteboards, and I've got the option to open up recall whiteboard, which is great for retrieval practice. But if I go into model it, this is how I teach. So if I click to hide that. So I work out this one, and I pick up the pen here. I can change my pen color, and I would write 2x plus 4. And then I click here, and the students get a different question to answer. I can turn that back on so they can see my example, and they do one. I do, you do. Really simple concept, but amazing, amazing for my students. It's got a few bits and pieces on the whiteboard, and you can save it as well, but again, you can just print it off. And then if we go, so each of these stars means that it progresses in difficulty. So that was a 1-star question. So if I go to a 2-star question, see if it'll work. It's made it slightly harder. Again, click to hide. I do one. Bin what I've got. I do one. So I change my pen color again. And you just tap the pen to change the color. And 10x minus 6. And then the students can see my answer, my work we're working. Then they do one. I do one. You do one. I do one. You do one. It's a really simple concept, but my students love working through the stars. Like I say, I teach adults in level 3, and they're like, come on, we can do a 4-star, we can do a 5-star. And then they'll get to 6 stars and they'll be like, no, we can't do a 6-star. They can't do it. And they know when they've reached the limit. But they really, really enjoy this. They really, really enjoy this as a platform. And so all I did was just to search by the topic. So if we search for number, and then if we put, I don't know, what have we got? Functional skills. So let's think about number, and let's think about addition. Operate with integers, plus and minus. Perfect. If I go to model it for I do, you do, it's going to now randomly create number bond to 10, 5 plus what is 10. I can hide the student question. I can work through the answer, change my pen color. You could draw in a number line. You can show them how they're going to do the jumps up to 5, or however they're going to do it. Or you could draw your number line and mark it off, however you model it for them. And then you can open up the question for them to do. I do one, you do one. Really, really simple. And then it progresses in difficulty. If we go up to 5-star, you see you're getting into 3-digit subtraction, 2-digit and a 1-digit. Still, you've got single digits. And then it's asking them about the words as well. So he's really thought about the content that he's that he's delivering to his students, and that's why he's built Mathwhiteboard the way he has. He's a really great guy, really great guy. It's a really great website. So that is mathwhiteboard.com. I've just shown you a very, very short little bit of mathwhiteboard.com. Other thing that my students have really loved is the revision whiteboard. So you design your own pack. So if I put in order of operations there, and it'll tell me 1 star is this, 2 star is this, 3 star is this. Then if I put in here, I don't know, solve linear equations, and then let's say we then did a bit of area of 2D shapes that we want to revise, then maybe we did a bit of probability in two-way tables, then maybe we did a bit of probability with probability scale, and then maybe at the end of the lesson, last lesson, maybe we did a bit on triangles, and we did angles in triangles. So I've just picked some random topics that we've covered over the course of the period. Am I going to give them 1 star questions, 2 star questions, 3 star questions, whatever? So I know my students, I know I'm going to give them 1 star questions. Click create. So it's customized to my students to what I've selected. Here is their revision board of their 6 topics for them to answer. So a really, really great tool. And again, I'm just showing you the very, very basics of it. Is that all right, Paul?
That's fantastic. How many questions are there in Maths Whiteboard? Do you know?
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands. This guy spends all his spare time building it. He still teaches in a multi-academy trust. So he's got a wealth of teachers to draw upon for questions that they want adding in as well. If you're following him on Twitter, which is Pixel Map the app, on Twitter, he will post when he has updated, that's his Twitter there, Pixel Map the app. He'll post when he updated, so he's put a QLA feature in now, which I've not played with yet, so I'm not going to demo it to you because I've not played with the QLA feature. But also he's put in, like someone said that the order of the questions didn't make sense in one of them, and he was like, well, yeah, obviously, why have I done it that way around? And so he changed it. So he's a really great guy.
Excellent, fantastic. Good, good, good. Any other questions from people? Any observations? Any thoughts about how you might now apply it in your particular situation? You know, small enough group of people to unmute if they want to, or you can raise your hand and I'll go through you in turn. Does anyone want to answer that? How would you like to start using it in your own teaching situation now? Anyone want to offer a suggestion there?
Johnny straight in. No, I will use my own teachers at home. Oh, yeah. What age do people? Yeah, a lot of entry 3. Yeah, great. If you are in further education, teaching functional skills or GCSE maths or English, my friend and I do a podcast called Ian and Booth, and we'd love you to come on as a guest and talk to us about what you do with your students. We'd love you to come on, so you can just go to that website and fill in the form, and you can come on and talk to us. We record 15-minute podcasts. And you can just talk to us about you working with your entry 2 students and what they enjoyed that week. That's the kind of content we want to put out, is what English and maths teachers are doing in further education at the moment.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sammy. So I'm struggling to get responses from these people. They don't want to talk to you, Sammy.
The mathematicians are too busy working out the answers.
Yeah, no, they're in awe. You see, you've answered all their problems that they have now. So that everything's solved. So their lessons now, quality of them are going to increase exponentially because we've got such an amazing set of tools at their control now. It does remind you, doesn't it, the generosity of the education community, that there are people building these things. Even the other Math Whiteboard, which is a commercial company that have a commercial product, but they're still thinking, well, what can we offer that's just a freebie?
Well, Math Whiteboard actually came from some doctoral research about students developing the understanding of relationships between variables. That's where they built it from. And then it naturally led to a commercial element because they needed to pay for the doctoral studies. And then what they've decided to do is then build Math Whiteboard from that.
Excellent. Lovely. Thank you very much for that, Sammy. So I think if we people are content, I'm aware that we've got 10 minutes still to go, but if everyone's had their questions answered, then that's great. If people have got questions they want to ask, please do chip up. If there are any observations you want to make, do please let me know. But if there's nothing else left to do, then we might as well steal ourselves 10 minutes and go and grab a cup of tea, mightn't we?
Definitely. Thanks, Mike. Thanks. Yeah, Mike, maths and Mike don't get on, but Mike being here means a lot. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with that last sentiment. I don't ever remember in 50 some years ever really enjoying maths, being terrified of it. But these kind of things really, I mean, I've just jumped straight onto that website, mathwhiteboard.com, clicked one button, and I'm straight in answering questions.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't have gone to much more effort to make it more simple for, you know, fairly terrified people. So that's cool. I'm going to show the kids.
Yeah, I think hopefully across the two tools I've shown you how teaching and learning can be enhanced of getting them to understand and see the relationships, and then how to just grab and go a load of resources. Grab and go.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Johnny. Nice background. Johnny's got an endless supply of interesting backgrounds. different background every time.
Well, since no one's listening, Paul, I came in, I arrived in the waiting room and then saw how many people were in and went, oh no, it's a proper official event.
Yeah,
that's put my best background on.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely. So I'm going to say thank you very much again, Sammy. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. It's been lovely to see you all. We're here each lunchtime.